You're listening to The Main Event with Zach Gelb and Mike Zahn on WIP.
We're back here, WIP Radio in Philadelphia, all jacked up following an Eagles win last night on Sunday Night Football up against those disgusting Greg Hardy supporting Dallas Cowboys. The Birds get the win in overtime, Bradford to Matthews by a final score of 33-27. Now let's go out to the hotline and welcome in a man that hosts the morning show on Sports Radio 94 WIP. And that's a man I actually interned for. The great Angelo Cataldi joins us right now. Angelo, Zach Gelb here. How are you?
Zach, it's my pleasure. It's good to be with you after a great win like that last night.
No doubt about it. And Uncle Angelo, I just want to give you a big round of applause as that was a sensational job out of you. I'd like to commend you for the job that you did on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, going after those hosts that were supporting Greg Hardy.
Well, you know, Zach, I actually did that before the photos came out on Friday. But what amazed me is how forgiving they were, and how forgiving the whole Dallas community has been for what Greg Hardy did. And that's why last night's game, to me, and I think to a lot of fans in this city, meant even more than the usual game, because it was important that we make a statement about how they have enabled that guy to do what he did.
I'm a logical person, and I was raised correctly by my parents, and I know as a man, you never put your hands on a woman. Why does Jerry Jones continue to defend Greg Hardy, and as this continues to get worse, he keeps on giving him words of praise?
Well, he's evil. And I'm not just saying that, you know, it's like it's a sports evil, but it's still an evil. He sold his soul to the devil to try to win another championship. He's not getting anywhere near it, Zach, all right? All he's really doing is bringing in one bad act after another and thinking that that's somehow going to be the answer to a champion. That's why it's so great that they've lost 6 straight games. That's like a statement against that whole attitude. And it was, I'm telling you, last night may have been my favorite regular season Eagles game in 25 years in this city doing radio. I loved it.
And you could tell that the players took a little bit of extra pride putting some hits on Greg Hardy and containing him for most of the game.
Well, they even said afterwards, Jason Kelsey, the center, and Lane Johnson, tackle, both said that when they had an opportunity to be more physical with Hardy than they needed to be, they did it just because they wanted to make their own statement about it. He motivated them into one of their best games, the offensive line's best games of the whole season.
I want to take you back, though, to the quote after the photos were released by owner Jerry Jones. Quote, while we did not have access to the photos that became publicly today, we were and are aware of the serious nature of this incident. We as an organization takes this very seriously. We do not condone domestic violence. We entered into the agreement with Greg fully understanding that there would be scrutiny and criticism. We have given Greg a second chance. He is a member of our team and someone who's grateful for the opportunity he has been given to move forward with his life and his career. That statement, Angelo, makes me just want to puke, especially when he contradicts himself when he says, we as an organization take this very seriously and we don't condone domestic violence. And they continue to support this misogynistic monster. And even after the snafu on the sideline against the Giants, Angelo, they go out there and they say that this guy is a leader of this team. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't get how they get away with this.
Well, they get away with it because they're the Dallas Cowboys and they're billionaires. That's how they get away with it. But yeah, I agree with you on the statement, Zach. I actually, it was probably, you could just issue a statement saying, I am morally bankrupt. Here's what's amazing. Jerry Jones has working. She's one of the highest ranking female executives in football. His daughter works for the Cowboys. Can you imagine what he or any human being would do if that was his daughter who was getting beat up that way that Greg Hardy beat up his girlfriend? So it's just complete and total, unless the guy is even worse than I'm saying, then the guy's a hypocrite too, isn't he?
100% right, and I think you bring up a great point as we're talking to Angelo Cataldi from Sports Radio 94 WIP. Eagles get the big win up against the Cowboys last night by a score of 33-27. So let's get into the game. Every Eagles game that I walked away from this year, I don't feel a whole lot of confidence with this team. Where's your confidence level after the Eagles beat the Cowboys last night?
A little higher because of the efficiency of the quarterback. Sam Bradford had a very good game. He threw the ball very accurately, had a passer rating over 100. He didn't throw the ball to them at all. He didn't make any mistakes. He made a beautiful throw to Matthews that won the game. I mean, just in stride crossing pattern, perfect. I felt good about that. I also felt good about the running game. The running game was much better and more reliable than it has been probably at any point in the year, although they've gotten better and better at it. Seems like the offensive line is improving, and they do have three very good runners. If they can get some holes for those guys, they can establish the game on the ground and then, use the pass a little more sparingly. Now, there was one drive there, 11 plays, 93 yards, where the Cowboys couldn't breathe by the end of the drive. If the Eagles can sustain that at all, they're going to be really good the second half of the year.
They did get off to a slow start, and that's been a consistent theme throughout this whole year. Only 10 first-quarter points, and they had a bye week to prepare for this game. Did Chip give you guys any explanation this morning about why they keep on getting off to a slow start?
They don't have one. If I had to offer a theory myself right now, it seems like they need to see what the other team is doing. They're good at adjusting, but not good at planning ahead. And you could see it. It's really embarrassing now. They 3 and out. The other team seems to be able to drive the ball really well on their defense the first possession. And then after that, they adjust. It's weird. It's like they're almost like in football, like a counterpuncher. They have to see what the other team's doing until they know what they want to do. But once they get that right, if you look at the third quarter, Zach, they killed the other team in the third quarter. That's their best quarter by far. They're beating them 3-1 in the third quarter.
And like you said, Bradford was just sensational in that second half. And I've been very critical of the whole Bradford and Chip Kelly team here in Philadelphia. I wasn't a big fan of the move. But this last night, does it give Bradford a little bit of confidence and maybe we get to see a consistent Bradford after he's missed so long of the last 2 years?
Zach, the thing we're trying to figure out is if there is such a thing. When he played in St. Louis, he was never, consistently terrific. He was good his first year. His first year as rookie was probably the best year he played in the NFL. Then he had a lot of injuries and other problems. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to believe it because clearly when he's in a groove, when he's on a roll, he can hit. He throws very accurately, he has a strong arm. He seems composed. He seems to have the ingredients to be successful. That's why he's the first pick in the draft in 2010. Whether or not he can sustain it, we're not going to know that until he, puts together 4 or 5 or 6 really good games in a row. And that's what you got to hope for if you're an Eagles fan.
A few more minutes with Angelo Cataldi as he joins us right now on WIP Radio in Philadelphia at Temple University. The refereeing last night was just so awful, Angelo. What was your take on the 2 PI calls and then the fumble where everyone in America knew the knee was down?
The first pass interference call was not good because it was too ticky-tack to call at that point in the game. The second one was outrageous. All right, it was, if anything, Des Bryant initiated the contact with Maxwell, not the other way around. And then when they couldn't figure out that Ryan Matthews' knee was down for 2 seconds before the ball came out, and we needed a review of that, can you imagine if that wasn't overturned? Can you imagine, Zach, that they're going to get the ball at the 42-yard line? They're going to need 2 first downs for Bailey to kick a field goal and the Eagles lose that game? Because they're that. How do they miss that call? How's it possible? I don't get it.
Neither do I. And the thing that frustrates me the most is pass interference as a whole. Because you can't define pass interference anymore. You don't know what is a flag and what isn't a flag. They have to find a way to get a better stance on this rule.
You're 100% right. I have asked the last 4 or 5 receivers that I've had on our show, I have asked them if they could define for me 2 things. One is, when is a catch actually a catch? And the second is, when is pass interference? And these are guys that do it for a living, Zach. They have no idea how to define either one. They don't know. They'll make a catch themselves. They won't know whether it's going to be a legitimate catch or not. And there will be times when there's no contact and there is a flag. There'll be other times where they get mugged and there's no flag. There's no consistency whatsoever to it.
Let's get over to the defense. Hicks has just been a monster for this team this year. Big play after big play. And this is a guy that you have to give Chip Kelly praise for drafting when a lot of people kill him for not drafting an offensive lineman the last 2 years. He did get hurt in that game. What are you hearing the latest on that injury?
I'm hearing positive, but until I actually, until it's locked down, I won't know. We had our own doctor on this morning. He said that he had some information that Hicks was saying that it didn't hurt this morning, which is essential because the more pain there is there, the more likely there's a tear. That the deeper the tear, the more possible for surgery. Surgery means the end of the season, right? That would be a stage 3 or whatever it is. But we're leaning toward a 1 or a 2, which might mean he misses a game or 2, which is definitely not terrible. But if it's more than a couple of games, it's a colossal loss because he's probably the best performer on defense so far this year.
Last night, the defense didn't play well, but this year, this defense just consistently produces turnovers and has really been the strength of this football team. Now, they had an off night last night up against a backup quarterback, which is really unexcusable, but they did have the pick 6. But this is 2 back-to-back weeks where teams have been able to run the ball at will on this Eagles defense. What do they need to do better defensively up against the run, Ange?
I actually asked D'Amico Ryans that question this morning, and we all concluded that it's because D'Amico Ryans isn't playing. Because D'Amico Ryans is really, really good against the run, and he hasn't been there. And Kiko Alonso and Michael Kendricks, those guys are solid players with a lot to offer, but they're not as good against the run. We think if Ryans is back, and there's a good chance he will be, that you'll see kind of they'll kind of resume what they were doing before he got hurt. He's just great at clogging up the middle, and without him, there's more room for the other guys to run.
Before we let you run, as Angelo Cataldi joins us right now, Sports Talk Radio legend from 94 WIP, has been here for over 25 years, talking to us in the city of Philadelphia. That's longer than I've been alive. I do have to ask you the question, though, bringing up Temple University, because a lot of people, they weren't happy with you leading up to the Notre Dame week, and you had the article that came out, and you don't think Temple can consistently have this success. Why is that?
Because Matt Rule is going to leave. There's no question in my mind he's going to leave. Let's just say the fact that I've been doing this for 25 years makes I can hear by the way questions are answered whether a guy is committed to staying and whether he is open to a big time job. And I don't begrudge that of Matt Rule. He's done an incredible job there. Matt Rule's the reason that Temple has succeeded. If Matt Rule leaves, it's not likely you'll find a guy who can do what he's done. They had a lot of guys before him that couldn't do it. It's not likely. I'm not saying they wouldn't be, a nice program, but they're not going to be a top 25 program without Matt Rule, and he is going to leave at the end of the year.
Is there any chance that there's a way that Temple's able to keep him and maybe get a Shaka Smart kind of run out of him?
Would you? Let's just say they can match a $6 or $7 million a year contract, which I'm not sure they can. If you were Matt Rule, would you stay at Temple when you could have offers from some of the absolute biggest college football schools in America?
No, it's a good point, and that's why I understand it, and I get it that, hey, I'm not an idiot. I get that any big job in the country, you probably have a coach to leave and probably take that job, but I think he has to pick the right job because you saw what happened with Al Golden, who he was here under with, and the Al Golden thing in Miami didn't work out too well.
I know, but Temple's a stepping stone. Temple is not a program so big that they can bid with the big boys. They can get the biggest games. They can get the biggest TV money and all that other stuff. It's just they're not there. Whether or not they ever can be, I don't know, but they're certainly not there now. If you're Matt Rule, you're young and you've had this level of success, and all these people are bidding for you, you're going to go. It's just human nature. You would do it too. You have a nice job right now at Temple. If somebody at WIP offered you a job with money, you'll be there tomorrow, Zach.
So are you saying that I have a spot in the morning show tomorrow?
No, I'm saying you're a mercenary like all the rest of us.
Angelo, you're the best. I always love being an intern for you guys. I'll make sure I'll come down and see you guys real soon. I appreciate a few minutes. Thanks so much.
Zach, thank you. You're doing a great job. We're proud of you at WIP. Good job, man.